The Nintendo Switch versus the Steam Deck. Which one is the right handheld for you to travel with? Let's talk about it. Hi, AJ here with Byte Size Cruises. Today I want to talk to you about my two favorite handheld gaming devices and what I like to travel with. So, just to give you some background about who I am as a gamer, I like cozy games primarily. My game that I have the most hours logged on is Animal Crossing. And then from there, I also do have the Steam Deck where I use it to play Alice Descent into Madness. I use it to play RimWorld and a few other puzzle platforming games. I'm not great at platformers, but I do like to play them. I don't do any real massive multiplayer online games. I do occasionally do a group game of Stardew or Orcs Must Die or Phasmophobia. So that's just a little bit about my gaming background. So you can take this breakdown with that in mind. So I want to start with the Switch. Some things I really like about traveling with the Switch. One, it's small. It doesn't feel like I'm putting an entire extra shoebox into my luggage. It is pretty sleek and compact. It takes up less space than my laptop does, and it makes it easy to pull out when you are on the plane so you're not disturbing the people around you if you're flying. I also really like the battery life on the Switch. I can usually get pretty far into a flight with it without needing to charge it. And if I have a charger with me, it's usually pretty good about keeping it throughout the flight. Like I have like an Anker brick charger that charges my laptop. It charges my Switch just fine. I was able to make it from Newark Airport all the way out to Vancouver without having to charge it. I think I missed like an hour of the flight. I was playing Cult of the Lamb at the time, which also isn't very resource intensive. I also like that if you are on a flight, you can take the sides off, the controllers off, and you can set it up on the tray table. You can even play with the person next to you. You're not limited to just playing by yourself, which can also be really good on a cruise ship. Something a lot of people don't realize is that like some hotels and unlike a few, you cannot plug any device into the TV and have it work on the cruise ships except specific lines and rooms. So being able to actually play as a group if you're traveling with a family, it does make it really nice. Downsides of the Switch, its internet management is terrible, which makes it really hard to sign it onto a network. So if you have any hope of doing online gaming, the Switch is probably not going to cut it on a cruise ship. I also have a lot of problems with hotel Wi-Fi's getting the Switch to connect correctly because it doesn't have the same robust browser, even if you have the browser installed. It's gotten better in recent years with this issue, but it's still kind of a problem. Kind of a pro and a con is the game management system. So if you are a solo person in your family, all the games are bought through your account and you have a lot of digital games, it's fine if you're just traveling with digital games. Otherwise, you do need that Wi-Fi connection to be able to check whether or not you're eligible to play the games while you're on the ship, which can be a problem if you can't get on the Wi-Fi. Conversely, you do have the option for cartridges. So as long as you have the cartridges with you, which the cartridges for the Switch are very small, they don't take up a lot of space, you actually don't need the Wi-Fi at all unless you're trying to check in to get dailies or something like that. Like I said, the internet is rarely good enough on these ships for you to really do anything online anyway. I wouldn't be trying to do any sort of online gameplay while you're on the ship to begin with. I would like to stop, take a moment, and ask that you please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 before the end of the year, and it is not going as quickly as I hoped. So if you could do that for me, that would be amazing. Let's get back to it. Now let's talk about the Steam Deck. So the Steam Deck's pros are you have a vast library. There are so many games available for you on Steam that do work on the Steam Deck. And if you are once again, a solo person in the family, you've got them all downloaded. It doesn't really need an internet connection to check in for a lot of them to make sure that you can play it. Once it's installed, it's there. Another pro is that it is a full system. So the Steam OS is built on Linux. So you have a full browser. It makes it easy to kind of hook up to any Wi-Fi that you want to use. And you can even download more apps for it to be able to use it as a primary entertainment device while you are on the ship. So my kind of hesitations and why I haven't taken it on a lot of trips with me is that it is big. It is a very large device compared to the Switch. It takes up about twice as much real estate in my bag. It is like a shoebox size. And it is not the most comfortable thing to play on if you are stuck in an airplane seat, so I haven't used it on an airplane yet. In fact, I wasn't able to get it out of my bag the one time that I did bring it with me. So that being said, I haven't done as much traveling with the Steam Deck. The other thing is I find that the Steam Deck's battery does run down faster. Now that could be a handful of things. The screen is bigger, which means even though they're rated with the same amount of battery, it's going to eat through it faster because it's powering a larger screen. Also, the games are more intense. So it is a more high-powered device, which is going to use more energy. But if I was traveling with it as my only entertainment device, if I could only bring one device for entertainment and it had to be one of those two things, that's probably the one I would pick because I have more options for downloading movies and entertainment to it to make it that all-encompassing device. Also with the Steam Deck, you do have the option of bringing controllers that you can pair separately, so you can still do side-by-side gaming with people, and that screen is larger to do it on, which could also be a pro for you. And if you are on a ship that allows you to plug into the TV, the dock for the Steam Deck is more packable than the dock for the Switch. There are some third-party dock options that are made for travel, if that is your thing, but not everybody trusts the third-party aftermarket docks, and I completely understand why. Now, it is spring of 2025, which means that we are in that nebulous period between when the Switch 2 is announced and the Switch 2 goes live. Who knows when the Switch 2 is actually coming after all of the hoopla with everything. But I just want to make it clear, if you're watching this in the future, which Switch I am talking about the Switch 1. Now, that being said, I have the normal model, not the OLED model, and I have the normal model, not the light. Take those with a grain of salt. So, which one do I like to travel with? For me, it's the Switch. I really, if I'm going to just sit there and grind at a game for hours, it's going to be something like Cult of the Lamb or Animal Crossing. Those are both on there, and the battery lasts longer. It doesn't take up as much room, and I'm often kind of space limited with the other things that I travel with. But I can totally see why someone might travel with the Steam Deck over the Switch if their gaming preferences are different. If I really wanted to sink in and knock out some of the games that I'm in the middle of on the Steam Deck, I would take it. In fact, over the past year, I've taken the Steam Deck with me on several car road trips where space was not an issue because I am trying to beat a few of those games, and the games that I'm currently kind of vegging out to are on there. So it really depends on your space and what type of gaming you're wanting to do on your vacation. It's so hard to say what device is better for any one person. If you haven't yet bought the Switch, don't buy it now. Wait. The Steam Deck is a much better value, even looking at the stats of the Switch 2. If I have to choose between price-wise a Switch 2 and a Steam Deck, I'm going to do the Steam Deck. And if I haven't bought a Switch 1 yet, then now's not the right time. Wait for the 2 to come out and the 1 to drop in price and people to be selling them back to be able to buy this 2. So if you're buying it now, I'm very confused, but that's my advice there. All in all, it really comes down to that personal preference. Which one has the game that you're going to be playing? Which one has the footprint that you have the room for in your car? And how do you feel about the environment you're going to be in with the size of the device? The Switch is so much more discreet and easy to carry around that for me on a cruise, it just makes sense. But if I am going to like a resort or if I'm on a road trip or something, then I bring the Steam Deck because I don't have to worry about carrying it anywhere. It's just in the car and then it's in the room. I'm not taking it out and about with me. And that's really what it comes down to for me. Which, am I going to be more stationary or am I going to be moving around? That's how I make my decision about which one I bring. But I would love to know your opinion. Do you have a Switch and a Steam Deck? If you do, which one do you prefer traveling with? I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below, and I will talk to you next time.